Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp with some stamp and stencil layered backgrounds using new stamps, dies, and stencils from the brand new Crafty Hugs release. Awesome new products, and I cannot wait to share these with you. I am always needing thank you cards on hand, and so today I decided to focus on the brand new extra large thank you die using some stamps and stencils for that background with some layering, and then creating a little phrase there as well with another new stamp set. We're going to take the Simon Says Stamp Radiant Heart stencil first and put some pixie spray on the back of this stencil. You want to make sure and protect your work surface. I like to just use an old box or something like that so that you don't get that adhesive spray anywhere. It is a temporary adhesive, so it's not going to permanently glue anything there in place, but it's going to help hold down your stencil while you're doing your inking or anything like that. Then I'm just using a little purple tape to help mask off so I don't get too much cross-contamination there with my ink colors. And we're going to kind of do like rays of the sun coming out, but we're going to do a pastel rainbow. I used picked raspberry first, and then we're going to move on to spiced marmalade. And I'm doing kind of an ombre effect as well. So we've got our pastel rainbow in ombre, keeping it much darker down near the base and then kind of lightening up as we move out and away from the center of that the radiating hearts. This is an awesome stencil. Now you can see I tipped mine kind of more into a diamond shape, but you can use it where the hearts are more tipped at an angle or anything like that. I absolutely love hearts in crafting. You guys probably know this about me if you've been following me before. And so a heart stencil is always one of my favorites. After spiced marmalade, we have squeezed lemonade, that's the yellow, twisted citron for our nice limey green, and we're going to finish off our rainbow with cracked pistachio. So kind of a non-traditional rainbow color here today, but really one of my very, very favorite effects. Now, you could totally leave your background just like this. However, I knew I wanted to die cut and inlay my extra large thank you into my design with white. And if I leave it like it is now, it's not going to show up great. You would probably need to choose a brighter color of cardstock or even black or gray or something like that. So I opted to go ahead and take my blending brushes and go over the entire design really softly with extra ink. And I'm just kind of following the same design as our radiating hearts with all the same ink colors. If there's not enough ink left on the brush, I'm going to re-ink it, but just kind of use a lighter hand. And it's going to give a very soft, very pretty effect, making sure to blend each of those distress ink colors into each other as we're moving across the panel. The end result is one of my very, very favorite looks ever, which is that tone-on-tone type of effect, which I just think is always a good one. If you ever are looking for a great inking technique or you can't figure out what you want to do, one of my favorite things is to revisit things that I absolutely love. So not only am I revisiting that technique that I love, but I also love the look of subtle text over a stenciled or stamped background. In this case, a stenciled background. And the brand new thank you text background stamp, you guys probably know this, is going to be one of my favorites. I love a teeny tiny text like this. It can be used in so many ways. We're going to take white pigment ink because I definitely don't want to detract and take away from the radiating hearts, or radiant hearts, pardon me. But I want a little bit of distressing, a little bit of text in that background, and this is a fantastic way to achieve that without overwhelming the design. I like a white pigment ink. You could definitely choose a colorful ink if you wanted to. There are so many ways to use a text background. I cannot say enough about text backgrounds. They are my absolute favorite background stamps. After I have stamped that, look at how pretty that background is. I decided to show another example of this technique, but with a completely different stencil. So the other brand new stencil in the Crafty Hugs release is called the Geo Leaves. And again, I'm going to use pixie spray on the back of my stencil, and I'm going to ink this up. I opted not to mask here. Now, I originally did one background where I masked and kind of did rose. I didn't love it. It felt a little too forced, just a little too rigid, I guess. I liked it a little bit more organic with the colors kind of flowing into each other. Same ink colors: picked raspberry, spiced marmalade, squeezed lemonade, twisted citron, and cracked pistachio. Probably some of my all-time most used distress ink colors, because I just absolutely love these together. It's kind of sherbet colors is what I think of them. Now this is gorgeous as is as well, but again, I'm inlaying a white sentiment into this background, and so in order for it to show up better, I really feel that we need to go ahead and go in and add that tone on tone ink blending color over each section. And it really ends up giving a very soft, beautiful background that's going to make that white bold thank you really pop. You definitely would not have to do an inlay if you don't want to. I did do an inlay simply because originally, I will say, I was going to do something a little bit different, and that's kind of how that started. And then I did the inlay, and I decided that it wasn't quite bold enough for me, and so I added a couple more layers of cardstock on top. So if you want to just kind of forego the whole inlay thing, you could totally do that if you're wanting to do what I did and add extra layers. We'll get to that here in a second. I did stamp an additional little phrase from another new stamp set called the US of Craft A. So cute. And I'm just going to stamp the phrase Crafty Friends Rule on some black cardstock. This is a black cardstock scrap from my stash that I stamped with the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink, heat embossing with white embossing powder, and then we're going to run it through our die cutting machine using the previously released Simon Says Stamp nested banner die. So this is the one that kind of has the angles. Another great banner stamp set. I love basics like this. Then I wouldn't have had to do all this step here, but I'm kind of, if you were going to use the outline and you wanted to keep it close together, I would use the outline image there to help line it up so that everything stays put, because the thank and the you do come apart. So let's say you want to do a long skinny card. You could put the words next to each other, and I think that would be phenomenal because it'll be really long. So I like that you have the versatility, but yet if you want to have them line up, and I wanted to inlay, as I mentioned, so I was really wanting to keep it together. That's why I used the purple tape and all of that. But as I mentioned a second ago, that didn't really work out. I love to keep or tell you guys this when I am doing these videos so that you kind of see the process, because we all go through that process where sometimes the things that we think we're going to do kind of adjust and evolve as we're creating our cards. So it does give you a great little placement having that inlay there. I'm going to stack 2 more layers of white die cuts on top of this if you wanted to. And kind of the reason that I did this, I've left it on the screen, is I thought that I would pop up my sentiment and then finish with the inked sentiment on top. I laid it out and it just didn't really speak to me as much as the white sentiment for this particular card. I've done some of those in the past. In fact, I will link to one where I did die cut part of the background and then I popped it up for that dimensional inlay, so you can kind of see the difference. But for these, I didn't really feel like I needed to, and I felt like the white just spoke and was visually more appealing. It just spoke to me better and was more visually appealing. than trying to use those inked panels on this particular card. You can save those though and create additional cards with those inked panels if you want to. Then I popped up the little Crafty Friends rule die cut banner phrase there right underneath the thank you, and I'm finishing with these gorgeous rainbow sequins, also part of the Crafty Hugs release. We're just layering some of them. I used all of the flat sequins from this little sequin pack because I really liked those. So let's go ahead and just put the second card together. I put adhesive all over the card front. I put the panel down in place. I'm using liquid adhesive where I need to fill in little areas and things like that, to make sure my sentiment lies nice and flat. And then I'm going to simply inlay this, and then I'm going to take any little bits and pieces. So the inside of the A, the inside of the O, and then that little teeny tiny area between the O and the U. Those little background pieces, you want to make sure and hold on to them and then just pop them in place. And I'm using this embellishment wand to do that, which makes picking up any little parts and pieces so easy. Then we're going to finish with a couple more layers. I like to use an acrylic block in between adhering these to help keep everything nice and flat while the liquid glue is drying. So I'm just going to continue to add these additional layers of thank you, and I really think it makes a difference on the card. Just adding those little layers, it pops up the sentiment a little bit more than having an inlay or even just a single layer sentiment there. Other options would be to adhere a cardstock color, whether it's white or something else, to fun foam with stick it adhesive and then die cutting it and adhering it to your card. You wouldn't have to inlay anything or anything like that, but it would give you a nice dimensional greeting. So if you're looking for some other options to get a similar kind of look, that would work as well. We're going to go ahead and use liquid adhesive and our embellishment wand to finish this out with some additional rainbow sequins. They have kind of that great iridescent-y type of look. Just a nice, simple embellishment that adds a touch of sparkle and fun. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these two stencil and stamped layered background cards featuring Simon Says stamps, dies, and stencils. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamp products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.